Hello, my name is Cierra, and for my senior presentation, I titled it Cooking with Cierra. So, a little bit about me is I'm part of a family of seven. My parents are Scott and Jenny Moore, and I have four sisters, two of which are older and two of which are younger. My older sister is Chasten. She's currently attending South Dakota State University and is on her third year of nursing school. Raina also attends SDSU and is on her first year, and she's majoring in political science. And then my two youngest siblings are Mara and Talon. Mara is a seventh grader here at Parker, and Talon is a fourth grader. My future plans include attending South Dakota State University to major in elementary education. So, my mentor was Marlis Davis. She was the owner of the Home Place, which was a little cafe that was uptown on Main Street in Parker. She opened up that cafe in 2000 and closed it a couple years ago in 2017. But she still does do catering today for smaller venues. She's known all around Parker for how amazing her cooking is, especially because of the Turner County Fair, where she makes so many different meals for the community, and they're all terrific. Her husband is James, and she has three grown children. And then my advisor was Miss Roxanne Harms. She graduated from South Dakota State University and has a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics and a Master's degree in Administration. It's her 29th year of teaching, but is only her 7th year of teaching at Parker. And she is our high school math teacher. And then why I chose Miss Harms? I chose Miss Harms because she is always so supportive and she helped me a ton with my college algebra that I took first semester. And she also was always willing to help me and answer my questions. And I also brought her a couple little samples of different things I baked. And then activities that I'm involved in, I was the co-captain of the volleyball team. I also participated in basketball, track, softball, choir. I was the senior class rep for student council. I was also in FFA. I'm the leader of Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I participated in the One Act play, Grace Lutheran Youth Group, Mathletes, and then I was also nominated for Character on Track and participated in Drill Team 4-H, where we are the Dairy Doers, and National Honor Society. So my research paper's thesis was cooking is beneficial because one can put their own twist on meals, which is healthier and saves money. So the three main points that I talked about throughout my research paper was how cooking is so unique. You don't always have to follow the recipes. You can always add what you like to the recipe to make it even better for your liking. And then also cooking is so much healthier than going out and eating at a restaurant. And it saves you a ton of money. I mean, eating out at a restaurant costs you a couple of bucks, but then cooking at home can save you so much money, and then you can also freeze those meals and have them later. So, my project overview was I learned a lot more about cooking that I never really did pay attention to or even care to learn, but I'm glad I know it now. And then cooking, I also cooked a variety of different types of foods, some breakfast, lunch, and dinner meals, and a couple of desserts. And then finally, after everything, I made little recipe books that all consist of about 11 recipes per book. And then the total amount of hours, it took me about 16 hours to all the times I met with Marlis to cook, and it cost us $100 roughly for all of the ingredients. So the first step to my project was I needed to find recipes. I found recipes either online or Marlis had a ton of cookbooks her at her kitchen, and those were a lot of help. And then like I stated earlier, I cooked a variety of breakfast meals, lunch and dinner meals, and a couple little desserts. So the second step was meeting with Marlis. I met with her about 8 times. We just met uptown at Twigs, which it is called now. It's the old home place, and we just used their commercial kitchen, which was super helpful because there's so much room up there to work with. And then each time I did meet with her, it was for about 2 or 3 hours. And I also did help her make some of her meals that she sells on her website, which was super fun. And the first time that I did meet with her was in October, and the last time was this March. So the second step was buying all my ingredients and knowing what to buy. So we made a roughly about 12 different meals and goodies, and then each meal consists of 11 or less ingredients. I really wanted to keep it simple because I didn't really want complex recipes because I know I would forget them, and these ones are just easy, quick, and taste delicious. And I also learned that the main ingredients in about every recipe is either butter, eggs, milk, flour, anything like that. And lastly, I made little recipe books. I put about 10 recipes in each of my books and roughly made about 36 of them. And in the books, I had two or three breakfast meals, lunch and dinner meals, and a couple desserts at the end. And then I got my inspiration from these books from looking at other cookbooks or looking online, and I just put them all together and made them in a little cute little book. So my final project was this is a slide of some of the little breakfast meals that I made, which were super easy. I first made caramel rolls, which was three ingredients, caramel, and then these little croissant biscuits that you just cut up, lay down there, put the caramel on. You can also add pecans if you would like, and you just cook that super simple and easy, and it tastes delicious. And then secondly, we made some breakfast burritos. Those just consist of some scrambled eggs, some bacon, sausage, hash browns, and cheese, and anything you really want to add to your breakfast burrito. There's no limits. And then we also froze a couple of those to have for later. And then another breakfast meal was sausage bacon wraps, and those were so good. They were just sausage wrapped in bacon with powdered sugar sprinkled above it, and you just put those in the oven, let them cook, and they were delicious. And then some of the dinner meals that we did make was a cheesy chicken. It was cubed up chicken, and you can also do it with any other meat, turkey, ham, anything you really like. And then you wrap that in a croissant roll. You put it in there with some cheese, milk, and you just cook that, and it came out super good. We also made homemade chili pot pie, which was amazing. We made it all from scratch. So we made the dough first, put that in the pan, and then we made the chili and spooned that in, and then covered it and cooked it. And that was also something she did sell for one of her meals. And another dinner meal that we did make was called bubble pizza. It's just chopped up biscuits with some beef on top and cheese and tomato sauce. It was super good for being so simple and easy. And then my favorite personally was some desserts that we made. So we first made a homemade cherry pie, which was delicious. The cherry filling was so good. Marlis had some of her cherries from her cherry tree, and they were amazing. And we made that from scratch, so we made the dough, and I think it was really fun to make that because I've never made anything completely from scratch, so that was really interesting. And then also I made some brown sugar shortbread cookies, three ingredients, super simple. And I made a Oreo cheesecake, which was delicious. And my personal favorite, Florida pie. Oh, so good. And then some problems that I did encounter throughout my project was my health of my mentor. We had to reschedule a couple times because either she was not feeling too hot or something came up. And then also just COVID-19. When I first started meeting with her, I was making sure to wear a mask so I didn't get anybody sick or anything or contaminate the food. And then also scheduling times, like I stated earlier, we had to reschedule a couple times, but I'm glad we fit in some times to cook. It was super fun. And we also had to follow many safety precautions, especially being up at a commercial kitchen. There's certain rules you have to follow so you don't cross-contaminate different foods and creates a bacterias that's just not good. And then also I learned a lot about more like proportions and how to make bigger meals, especially being like a family of seven. Knowing how to make bigger meals and doubling your batches is super important, is such as we made Florida pie and we doubled that batch. As you can see in the pictures, the um, white whipped eggs were since we doubled it, the bowl was not quite big enough, but we made it work. But knowing like your proportions could help a lot. And then my learning stretch was I gained a lot more knowledge on cooking and just preparing meals, which was super very like it's gonna be very beneficial for me to know that in the future. And then I also learned like the chemistry behind mixing certain ingredients and how for the like for whipping eggs, I didn't really realize that it would become a like white fluffy like cloud. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then also just managing my time and making sure I'm there on time to meet with Marlis and help her as best as I can and be like comfortable and flexible with her schedule. And then, like I stated earlier, proportions for bigger meals and knowing how to double your batches is super beneficial, and it was really like good to learn. And then also food safety, I learned about how to not cross contaminate bacteria with different foods, and like making meat, you want to make sure that you cook it at the right temperature, you store it at the right temperature, just so you don't get sick from any of those. And then some thank yous are Marlis. Obviously, she was a huge help and she was always willing to meet whenever she could. And she taught me a lot about cooking that I didn't know. And then obviously Miss Roxanne Harms, she was my advisor and she was always there to answer my questions and she corrected my research paper and she was a big help. And then my mom, she's actually the one who came up with this idea of me doing for my senior project, which I think was really smart because I wasn't very good at cooking. So I think she knew that. So cooking with Marlis was super fun. And then Miss Barnhart, she always pushed us to do our best and made sure we didn't procrastinate, even though a lot of us did. And she was a big help. And then Mara and Talon, lastly, they were a big help with making my recipe books. If I didn't have their help, it probably would have taken me twice as long, and it took me roughly like 2.5 hours to make them. So having them there to help me I'm super thankful for them. Questions.